Good day, everyone. My name is Jennifer Silao, and I am a Dean of College at Don Bosco College, Philippines, and I'm one of the panelists for the panel discussion, Scaling Up of Behavioral Professionals in the Philippines, Challenges and Opportunities During the Pandemic. Let me start by saying that there is an inevitable class gap in the country between the affluent and the underserved learners like any other third world countries. For most learners from these unrepresented groups, establishing a responsive, suitable, and relevant education has always been a challenge. And this existing imbalance have been exacerbated by the current pandemic since there were new provisions that have been introduced and this complicated the country's current situation. When the educational system restart operations in the coming days for its limited face-to-face, after about 2 years of school closure due to this crisis, there is an impending question and impending difficult conception of how learning will take place and in what sort of space it will take place. Having said that, let me give you a brief rundown of the top current education issues in the Philippines. These are the list of the top current education issues in the Philippines. The first in the list is social divide. There is no equal access to education in the country, and this is actually linked to access. Significant deficiencies in classrooms are seen. Instructional pedagogies instructs instructors as human resource and other tools to support effective learning are all lacking and also a major concern in the Philippines. Studies have shown that the greatest challenge of the pandemic in the Philippines was linked to the learning environment at home and actually linked to access. The pandemic had the greatest impact on the quality of learning experiences and also linked to access. Okay. The second important issues in education is quality. And the status of primary and secondary education have declined drastically according to the National Achievement Test and the National Career Assessment Examination done in 2021. Another important issue is the issue in budget. The country continues to have one of the lowest budget allocations for education among ASEAN members, and this is actually connected with the high cost of education in the country. And due to this problem, there's a significant disparity in learning attempts among various socioeconomic groups. Another very important issue that we are currently experiencing is the growing rate of dropouts. This has become daunting due to the adverse effects of COVID-19. And according to the data from the Department of Education, around 4 million regular students were not able to enroll for the school year 2021. And around 50% of those out-of-school youths belong to the families whose income fall within the 30% or the bottom 30% of the population based on their per capita income. As for our students with disabilities, the enrollment went lower by 74% compared to its pre-pandemic figure. But you see, even before the pandemic hit, many learners with disabilities were deprived of accessible education and other services. That is why special needs access is one of the major concerns in the Philippine education system. Although it is timely that there is a new law in favor of our learners with disabilities, which ensures that they will not be left out in the middle of this pandemic, still there are a lot of issues in special education that needs to be addressed. To name a few, we have limited materials, facilities, and equipment for systematic and scientific early identification and screening procedures. There are increasing number of people with special needs. However, as their number increases, the demand and supply also increases. Teachers that we are able to train really well leave the country because of better pay offer outside and to get a better job, to get better pay, to get promoted for a higher position in other countries. Also, we have a lot of people with special needs, but there are only a few who are recognized and counted. There are a lot who are uncounted and undiagnosed. Some of them are even out of school, and some are on places that the program cannot reach. The facts are concerning, and there is a significant risk that we may not be able to address them all, and we may probably end up with even more difficulties in the coming days because there is so much to be done. There is a need for engagement from multi-sectoral stakeholders and their active participation in the decision-making process because the government alone is not at all capable of addressing all of those issues by itself. We need shared efforts and to fully realize what transformative education is. For that transformative to be true, opportunities, access, experiences are needed by our learners. And I believe it takes a whole village to raise a child, but in order to make sure that that child gets the basic of this educational transformation, it takes a whole country to raise this child.